Welcome to Greek for a Week. I'm glad that you have decided to view this week's video. And this week we are working through chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. That particular paragraph in the book of Philippians, Paul's final admonitions. This particular week, though, we're going to look at two verses, verses 4 and 5, which is appropriate, what Paul is asking of the Philippians, and then by implication and certainly by application, what we can do this week, given the Christmas season and Christmas week. Verse 4 here and verse 5 here. So let's begin by translating here. He says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice." Then he says here in verse 5, he says, "Let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near." So if we look at a couple of things here, specifically in verse 4, you'll note that we have two imperatives. We have the kairete here at the beginning, as well as kairete here at the end. Both of those would be considered second person plural, present active imperatives of kairo, which is I rejoice. Then you have en curio, you have a prepositional phrase that follows the imperative. Varner, who writes the Philippians volume in the Baylor Exegetical Handbooks, he states that this phrase, the en curio, may designate the object of their rejoicing or the sphere within which their rejoicing takes place. Perhaps, again, these should not be separated. I think also we could say that there is a causal option as well. You could say, because you are in the Lord, therefore he's asking them to rejoice. So I think there's a lot of certainly plausible options there. I tend to lean a little more towards the causal, but certainly the sphere or the relationship that they have with the Lord would also then encourage Paul to have them rejoice. Then you have ero here, which is a bit unique. Ero, which is the first person singular, future active indicative of lego. Lego. Then as moving down to verse 5, you have genostheto. Here you have a third person singular, aorist passive, and then that's an imperative. That's why we translated it, let be known, let your gentle spirit be known. And of course, that's imperatival of the verb gnosko. Then you have the ta epicase. That is, it's an adjective meaning gentle, but I think it serves more as a substantive adjective, and it's also, if you will, serving the subject there of the imperative. Let your gentle spirit be known. And then, of course, the pasin anthropois, to all men, that's in the dative, that is to whom the gentle spirit is to be known. It's directed to all men. So I think this is an opportunity here as a final admonition that Paul has toward the Philippians to encourage them not only to rejoice because of who they are and the relationship that they have with Christ, but to also then be gentle in their communications as well as their attitude toward all men. So I trust this has been helpful for you. This is verses 4 and 5 of chapter 4. Next week, we will look at verses 6 and 7. Have a great week.